Good morning. It is time for Art in the AM on a Monday morning at 10:30. That is when I've been going live here on Facebook for over 5 years now, since April 1st of 2020. And what I have been doing in 2025 is a little series that I'm calling Word of the Week. And I've been using this journal, and I just counted, and there are 16 pages left. Now, I believe that there are more than 16 weeks left in the year, right? Because there would be August, September, October, November. There would be like 20 more weeks. So I may be combining a couple of weeks, and that would mean my entire year would fit inside of this book. The word that I chose for today, I am doing during the month of July, I'm doing the letter C. So last week, if you watched, I did this really fun technique. It ended up being such a fun technique in the back of just kind of playing with some acrylic inks and some different tools that I had. And I don't know if you can tell once the light catches it, the blue that I used in there was a pearlescent acrylic ink. And let's see if I have, so it's kind of like a pearlescent, and it turned out so pretty on there. And look, I'm just noticing I got my nails done, and they kind of go with the blues that are in there. So, but that one was so fun. Last week I talked about, what was last week's word? Contradiction. Contradiction? Is that how I have my list here of my words somewhere? Oh, here we go. Contradiction. I think that was the right word. Yeah, like a contradiction. So the contradiction of these, kind of like a storm is kind of, that's why I had the darker color in there, kind of going for that. And then she's like very happy and smiling over there. So it's like this contradiction of the face and the colors in the background. And I just had so much fun with that. Today, I'm going to do another C word, and I am going to flip it over to my next page, which I noticed good morning, Lori. I noticed the threads in there. This must mean that it is the center of the last signature. If you've ever made a handmade book, the groupings of the paper that are in there are called a signature. And I can tell by the threads that are in there that this is right in the center, and it lays down flat. I'm going to do a technique today that I had seen on like a little sampler of projects, little sampler projects from over the weekend. And I thought, well, I want to try this today with my word that I'm going to do. And let me go ahead and tell you the word today. It's a longer word, kind of like the word contradiction was a longer word. I haven't written that. What do you think? Should I write contradiction on here? Usually I will do the definition, which I haven't done yet, synonyms, antonyms, and usually like a quote on the back. So I still need to do that, but I haven't decided if I want to actually put the word. I probably will, because I've done that on all of the other pages, so I'll probably put the word on there. But I'm going to go ahead and I will work upside down for me, because this technique that I'm going to show to you doesn't matter whether I'm working upside down or not. I am going to use watercolor pencils. Tell me if you've ever used watercolor pencils, because the word that I'm going to do today is complexity. Complexity. And when I looked up the definition, it was kind of funny, because really the definition gave me a lot of synonyms of just like other words that mean something similar to complexity. And like complicated was one, which I don't really think of complexity as complicated, but kind of, I guess, from the same the same word there. But anyway, I'm going to use watercolor pencils, and I just want to like show you the technique, and then I'll give you a couple of synonyms, antonyms. I have a couple of quotes for you that really were very interesting for the word complexity. But I want to show you my watercolor pencils. Yes, so Lori mentioned the Derwent Inktense pencils, and actually tomorrow in my membership called Start Creating, which is my mixed media membership, I teach about artists. That's what we're doing this year. And I do a product review. And actually tomorrow is my product review for the Derwent Inktense pencils. So I have some of those. But today I'm going to be using some watercolor pencils that I got from a something that a friend gave to me. And I want to show you this. I don't know where she got it. She gave it to me because it was given to her, and so I don't know if this is still available, but let me just show you this suitcase of supplies. That is what I'm going to call it, is a suitcase of supplies, because probably if I took everything out of it, I could. It is this, I like a sturdy box, right? And it comes with these clasps on there, and when I open it up, it has so many layers. Like there are these pencils, which are the watercolor pencils, so this whole set here. Then I have colored pencils down here, and there are these little tabs here that open up, and I forget, oh, let me turn sideways, and then I can kind of like be able to show you. This little tab right here like opens up, and it like stands up. Look, so it has like this whole thing. So there are all of these supplies in there. There are oil pastels, oil paints, watercolor paints, acrylic paints, and then I'll show you how the other side, some of these paints came out of here. They're like these little tiny, just like little sample tubes. It's an Artist Loft brand name, so I imagine that came from Michaels, right? Artist Loft is Michaels. So then let me show you the other side. Pops up here, and I have this whole little section, and there is a little booklet in there with ideas, explanations, all of the products in there, and different things that you can do. It actually has some of the ideas for the watercolor pencils in there. And then it has like a whole set of brushes, and there's like a little water little thing in there, a couple of palettes, there's a pencil sharpener, an eraser, a whole set of nice brushes, and then I believe these are the oil paints, I think. No, these are the acrylic, but I think it has oil paints in here too. Watercolors and oil paints. So, I mean, what a huge, it's like a suitcase of art supplies. Like, my young self would have just been so excited, right? Like at Christmas to get something like this. I would have played with this for hours and weeks and months. And like, I just would have been so happy with this. I have no idea if it's still available, no idea how much it is, but it's Artist Loft, so it would be Michaels. So I'm going to have the watercolor pencils out, and I love how they look in this container, but it's not really practical for me to be able to use them like this, but I'm going to keep them in here for now. And let me just show you. Oh, it just says this is pink, but look, that is like a fluorescent hot pink. Love that color. I'm going to do complexity. And this technique that I saw, I don't have my color wheel over here. This technique that I saw used watercolor pencils, and they laid down the watercolor pencils, which I'm going to show to you. Then they activated them, and then we'll do some other things, which I don't even know if I have all the other things over here. But what I wanted to explain about complexity is the other things that we're going to do at first glance, you wouldn't know how they were done. And I believe that complexity in your artwork creates interest. It creates this like mystery, this intrigue of someone looking at it. So instead of like the first layer of what we're going to do, we're going to add some complexity to it, which will create interest when someone looks at it and says, well, how did you do that? How did you, sometimes when you just have a flat layer of color, it's kind of boring, right? There's not a lot of interest to it. There's not a lot of depth to it. So we're going to be doing some things to add some more depth. One of the things with this technique that this person talked about that I was watching, talked about on the color wheel. And what she did is she took a piece of paper and she just covered up half of the color wheel. And that I thought was a great way to be able to think of colors and color schemes and how colors go together. So she chose colors from like a purple all the way over to an orange. So those are the colors that I am going to pick, and I will pull out a couple here. And I think that's more of like a fleshy color. That's kind of like a, okay, let me kind of put these together here and see. I don't think I want this yellow here. Oh, but I think I do kind of like this orange. So these are some of the colors, and I'm just kind of trying to get them a little bit in order here. Let me lay them down and that'll be easier, and then I can show you the order. And you'll kind of see how they kind of go together. So that kind of a color scheme where it goes from yellow into orange into red. I have a large selection of red there, and then into like a red violet and then violet. And so these are the colors that I'm going to use on my paper here. And one of the things about that kind of a color scheme where you split the color wheel in half, I'll grab my color wheel here in a second. You're going to have two colors that are pretty much opposite on the color wheel. And you have to be kind of careful because those are going to create like they're going to neutralize each other. They're going to create like a neutral color. They're going to be maybe even a little muddy because yellow and purple are across from each other on the color wheel. I'll get a color wheel and I'll kind of show you. But let me go ahead and turn this down and I will show you this process that I'm going to do of, make sure my stand is going to stay still right there. This process of using the color pencils just as a pencil. You know, we're all really familiar with how to hold a pencil, and it makes it just a really accessible way to get color onto a page. So I'm going to start with, this one's just lemon yellow, and you won't be able to see this one very well, but I'm just going to scribble and kind of fill in kind of the corners and maybe a little bit up into the side here. And I will have a little bit more kind of like in the corners. And then I will go to my next color, which is just orange. I didn't have like a yellow orange kind of a color. And I'll put a little bit more kind of on the sides there. And these color pencils, or these watercolor pencils, I haven't used these very often, so we'll see how intense they are. The Inktense pencils that Lori mentioned are a much richer pigment. This one is orange red, So this will go into next year. But when I go to add water to these, you'll see it does change the intensity of the color. So we'll see with these. I haven't used these color pencils very often. Let's do this over here, kind of keeping my pencils in order a little bit. We've got a magenta, so this one goes right into red. And then we have, I don't want a brown red. I don't think I want a brown red or a dark red. So I'm going to put both of those back. So this one is just red. And I might put just a little bit kind of like in the corners, but and I'll overlap a little bit, so where I have the red kind of overlapping with the orange and the yellow, then it'll make a different color that way too. So I'm you know, kind of going into the center here where it's going to be like more purple. Now I'm going to use this magenta. No, this is just pink. I'm anxious to see what these do. This one looks really bright in here, but I don't know if it really is. Okay, and now I'm going to magenta. So this one's a magenta. It actually doesn't look very different from the pink when I put it on here. Tell me if you have watercolor pencils. This one now is a red purple. Oh, and this looks completely different. It doesn't look very much different than the pink or the magenta that I just used. So all three of these pencils, even though they look very different, almost look exactly the same on here. Which is a good reason if you have supplies that you try them out to know what they look like. And the last two that I have a light purple and then I have purple. Oh, that one's going to be really pretty. So I'm really kind of doing like a rainbow, you know, like half of the rainbow on there. And I'm kind of overlapping a little bit. And I'll put just a little bit in the center here. So already this is kind of complex, right? Because of the way that I put the colors on here. And we might leave a little bit of this. I might leave a little bit of this complexity of all of these colors on here. The last one I'm going to do is purple. And that's going to be right here in the middle. I'm actually kind of pressing down a little bit harder for this one. And I'm going to build it up a lot in the middle here. I mentioned if I got this set that I got these watercolor pencils out of, if I got that set, I mean, I have no idea how much it is, but I probably would have been happy with that from the age of like 5 to 18. I would have been happy getting that set. You know, like just all kinds of different things that I could do with that. I'm going to make it really dark here in the center. And speaking of Christmas, I have an event coming up with 6 other artists this Thursday. It's this Thursday. It's our Christmas in July event. And it is inside of our Create-a-thon community. And that is on Facebook. If you are not in that community and you would like to be in there, just comment CC. Comment CC, and I will make sure you have the link to join that group. on Thursday, we're having a Christmas in July Create-a-thon. And I'm going to go ahead and put all these pencils back in here. We're having a Christmas in July Create-a-thon, and I am starting the Create-a-thon first at 10 a.m. Eastern. And I am going to be doing a lettering font that you can use to put on all of your Christmas cards. You can use it to put on your birthday cards. You can use it to put on your anniversary cards, like any card you send to anyone. And you can put this lettering style that was influenced by my favorite Christmas movie. We're all the artists are going to be talking about, while I'm doing that, I'm going to start adding some water to this, and we can watch the colors intensify a little bit. And I'm going to start doing like some other things on here too. I'm going to get a spray bottle. I might get some salt. I might get like some other things. So on Thursday, each one of the artists are going to be doing a project. I'm gonna do this last. I'm going to start with like the corners. Oh, got some color on my brush, it looks like already. So when you're using watercolor pencils, I'm noticing that these don't move as much as I would have expected. You really kind of have to kind of massage your brush down into the paper a little bit. But I'm noticing, since it was a really hard tip, they're not really blending that much. You know what? Did I use the wrong side? Oh my gosh, you guys, I didn't use the watercolor pencils. Oh my goodness. Okay, so there's complexity for you because those were not watercolor pencils. They're not blending. So I'm going to go in with my water. I grabbed them out of the wrong side. Oh my goodness. I should have had them out of the suitcase. Anyway, I'm gonna jump through some of these. They have a dark end to them. That's how I'll know that they're the watercolor pencils. Oh yeah, I can already tell where that's kind of blending in. Watch, I'm gonna dip my pencil into the water and already kind of get that activated a little bit. That's so funny that I didn't think about that they weren't watercolor pencils. Okay, I'm going to use a red here. Who knows how this will end up now, because now I'm going to have color pencils, just regular color pencils, and watercolor pencils in here, so it really is going to be complex. Let's see. I have the same pink on here. Let's use some of that. Anyway, on Thursday, we're going to be doing the Christmas in July, and I'm going to be doing a font that was inspired by my favorite Christmas movie, which is the movie Elf. We watch it every year. I could probably recite all of the lines. It's still funny. And we watch it like every year. And the lettering font that I'm going to teach on Thursday, I am calling the Swirly Twirly font. Because if you have watched Elf, let me know if you've watched Elf, you have heard at the end, he starts reading his book. And the book talks about the swirly twirly gumdrops. So I'm still going to start back at the outside it. Oh yeah, now they're moving around a little bit. And I might come in and add even a little bit more. It's kind of interesting actually with the color pencil and the watercolor pencils in there. So we'll see if we can get them to kind of move around a little bit. The orange definitely is. So I will show you the font. And you can get into that group. I know some of you that are on here are already in the group. And you can get my download that I have of the practice sheets. I have 2 practice sheets that show the entire alphabet of the Swirly Twirly font. Okay, I kind of like how it has some of the lines in there with the watercolor and the color pencils. And I think what I'm going to do, I have a little spray bottle, and I'm just going to see what that does. I have a paper towel, so I'm going to kind of go around and, which will actually kind of dry it a little bit too, and see what that does. I'm going to see if I can move this around a little bit more right in the center. You know, different watercolor pencils are different. These are pretty, they aren't a very rich pigment, like I'm noticing. Just to show you a difference, I think I do have two of my Inktense pencils over here, which both are they aren't considered a watercolor pencil, but they react to water. I know that that's pretty much the same, but this one is a violet. So I'm going to actually use this, and you will see the difference. You can already kind of see the difference in there, and it's reacting to the water that I already have. I don't even have water, fresh water, like very much on my brush, but I want you to see the difference in how these move around, and you really lose more of the line that's there. And they're just a much brighter color in there. And then I have a fuchsia color, and I just dip that into the water. I love this color. It's almost like a magenta, fuchsia, like the paint quinacridone magenta. So I love that one. Then I'll add a little bit of water. I love those two together. I think I have a blue Inktense around here somewhere too. And already you kind of get like this complexity because there's all of these like different layers. And I'm going to be adding some other things as this kind of dries. I might put some salt in here. I might add even some other materials. So it's just like this complex layering, like of all of these different things in there. I like this like color scheme. It's like half of the color wheel. So I'm going all the way from yellow to the purple, but the yellow is not close to the purple, so they're not really touching. So I'm really kind of liking that. So let me go ahead and show you while that is drying a little bit. Hey there, Nilda. Oh, I'm so glad that you're excited. I don't think I have my envelopes over here. I haven't decided which name I'm going to do on the envelope. I'm going to choose one of the names from the characters of the movie to put on the envelope. I think I have one that I'm kind of leaning towards, but let me know if you have a favorite character from the movie that I should address, like that I should put the name on the envelope. I think I know which one I'm going to do, but I don't think I have my envelopes right here. But the practice sheets are 2 sheets, uppercase, lowercase, of all of the letters, kind of just like my style. What I'm going to encourage you to do on Thursday is to make them your own. Like I'm going to show you the letters, but then I'm going to show you how you can swirly them up. Like you can really make them more twirly, you know? So I have the practice sheets that you can download inside of the Create-a-thon community group. And then I have the lowercase ones there. And if you get into the group, then you can download those and you can have them to practice. And I will tell you, I have been doing this font. You'll hear a little bit more of the story on Thursday. I want to say I've probably been doing it for almost 30 years. Almost 30 years. I titled it the Swirly Twirly font because it kind of inspired the name but I've been doing the font much, much longer. So you'll hear a little bit more of that story on Thursday. But I am going to take and probably add some more things to this. And what I am going to do, I have it over here. You have probably seen me use tags. And I'm going to take a tag and make a little pocket. So I think I'm going to do like a little pocket on here somewhere, maybe over in here. And then inside that pocket, I'm going to have like another little, probably like another little tag, you know, so I'll have like another little tag kind of sticking up out of there that will have the word on there. So I think that's how I'm going to do the word for this week. This one actually is a tag from this top. This is my brand new top that I just got. And this is the tag that I took off of it. So I've been saving these, and I have a little stack of all of my tags so that I can just grab one when I want to use and make something from it. And I'm going to be using that to make like the little pocket on here. So I will do a little bit more to this. I will make the little pocket on there, and I'm probably going to have, I think I'm going to show you what I'm going to use for the little pocket. I'm going to cover that tag probably with some paper and then have the little tag inside of it, inside the pocket for the word complexity. And then I'll put the synonyms, antonyms, definition, everything. Let me go ahead and tell you these two quotes, and then I will show you what I think I'm going to cover the tag with. And I'll do both of these right here. But let me tell you these quotes to kind of finish up. And the first one that I found was it says, for every creative problem, for every complex problem, I don't know why I said creative, for every complex problem, there is a solution that is simple, neat, and wrong. I thought that was kind of funny. I don't know who this person is, maybe an author or something. But for every complex problem, there is a solution that is simple, neat, and wrong. And I think that is just speaking to the definition itself of being complex and complexity. Here's another one too. The art of simplicity is a puzzle of complexity. That in itself is complex to me. The art of simplicity is a puzzle of complexity. I think what it's saying is to complexity, like if complexity was a noun, if it was a person, the art of being simple, of the simplicity, is a puzzle. Like it's lost on the person who's complex. So I'm going to include those two quotes on the page back in here. But let me just show you to finish up. While this is drying, I'm going to do some more things and add some more complexity on there. It was kind of a happy accident that I used the color pencils and the watercolor pencils, and then I used the Derwent pencil, so there's already kind of like this layering of like, how did you do that? Like this curiosity. Yesterday Saturday, I had some extra paint. I don't even remember what I was painting. I had some extra paint, and I had pieces of like newspaper. I was doing a project inside my membership, and I had some newspaper, and it was sitting here, so I had extra paint, so I started painting it on the newspaper. So then I had this little piece of newspaper that had paint on it, and I always have some kind of blank pages, a journal, or something in case I have extra paint. So I put some extra blue paint on my paper, and I just kind of like let it dry. And then I had that piece of newspaper. So yesterday morning, I'm trying to just do a little bit of art, creative things each day. Not a finished project, but just something creative. So I had that piece of paper, I had some other extra paint, I had other paints kind of sitting out here, And I pulled open this journal that I have, and I don't remember where I got this. It says create on there. I don't remember where I got it. So I already had some paint. I took the newspaper and I glued it down, and then I just wanted to start playing with some of the other paints that I had just kind of sitting out here. One of my favorite, like, neons are some of my favorites because I can layer these, and you'll see this a little bit. And I just kind of wanted to start playing around with some colors. And this is what ended up with the pieces of the newspaper, the different colors. We got another piece of newspaper kind of down in here, and then one right in here. It still has some of the letters on there. And then I just kind of started playing with some of the extra paints. And I started dragging some of the paint like I did in last week's lesson, you know, so that was something that was kind of already in my mind from last week. Some of it was just like very dry brushing. Some of it was like that green neon where it's very transparent, so I could overlap it. The pink over top of the blue. When I look at this page, there are so many different little things that I learned about. Oh, and I also used a Post-it note that I had that was extra, and I glued it in. I have some extra, I have papers in here. Like in the corners, I have the Post-it note, but then I painted the pink over top of it. And there's the other little piece in there. So I learned like all of these different things on there, but I think that that's what I might do is pull a little piece of that, cover my tag with it, and then put it on here somewhere. And then use that. And what I will probably do, because this is already kind of looking complex, I'm going to add a little bit more to it before I kind of cut it up. I will probably take a picture of each one of these pages so that then I can print it out and use it for collage paper after, you know, before I cut it apart. So it won't be the original, but I'll be able to cut it up and then like use it. So I do that a lot of times if I have a page that really has a lot of interesting parts to it that I could be able to use in different ways. And I started using this pink that is a gouache, and that's like one of my new favorite colors. Look, it kind of matches my shirt. Anyway, so many fun different things that I was doing this weekend, and talking about the complexity of like depth and layers and adding to that was just something that I wanted to show you today about how you can add more interest to your artwork by having layers, having multiple different materials, because of course I love using mixed media, and how you can make things look more interesting by having all of that depth in there. So I hope that that was something that maybe sparked some ideas for you, sparked an interest for you to go do something creative today, even if it's just something like this in your journal where you're just putting some colors and just trying out some things, because that's how you learn what works, what doesn't. And sometimes those happy accidents, like this one of using the color pencils instead of the watercolor pencils, creates something that you wouldn't have expected. And that is really the reason why I show up on Mondays, is to give you a little spark of an idea of you to be creative and to take that time for yourself. So until Thursday, when hopefully I will see you for the Create-a-thon starting at 10 a.m. Eastern with the swirly twirly font that I'm going to show to you that you can have so much fun with. And then the other 6 artists that will be in there giving their fun projects should be over around 5 o'clock or so Eastern that day. And if you aren't able to do that, you will be able to watch the replays inside the group for 1 month. And if not, I will see you next Monday for Art in the AM and another C word. So I'll see you then.